Coming at you. The Pentagon has just released the updated National Military Strategy. We have a military strategy, and they've updated it, and the nation's blueprint for taking on the enemies and keeping the country safe is out. Among the dire warnings now, the Pentagon cannot predict the next grave threat to the nation, and military leaders say it will come faster than we've seen in the past. This is the first update to the strategy in 4 years now, a period that's really seen a lot of major changes around the world. The Islamic State grabbed land across Iraq and Syria. Russia's President Vladimir Putin invaded his neighbor Ukraine, lied about it. Iran has yet to reach any sort of deal on its nuclear program. North Korea has already built a nuke and is reportedly working on missiles that could reach our shores. The military strategy update addresses all of these issues. It predicts now any new fights will likely come in long campaigns, not short battles. It also points out the different strategies for waging war against a nation versus extremists, not part of any actual country. But for all the attention the strategy gives terror groups, it's really interesting that the Islamic State only comes up 4 times in a 25-page document. The Defense Secretary Ash Carter today said that defeating ISIS is ultimately the responsibility of the locals.
The only way to have a lasting defeat of ISIL is to have someone who can govern and secure territory once ISIL is defeated. That has to be a local force on the ground. That's why the strategy calls for the United States to help train and equip and then help enable a local ground forces.
That's been the problem for many years. The strategy pledges to continue working with our allies to fight Islamic State terrorists. And with us now is the retired Colonel CEDRIC LEIGHTON. He was the Joint Chiefs of Staff Deputy Director for Warfighting Support and Integration. He also spent 26 years as an intelligence officer for the United States Air Force. Sir, thank you.
You bet, Chef. It's my pleasure.
I don't know that there's so much new here, but the more you can emphasize this grab, hold, and then give to someone else to take care of, it seems like the better off we're probably going to be.
Well, that's, I think, the premise behind this strategy, this new national military strategy, and it falls in the wake of the national security strategy, which was promulgated back in February by the White House. So these two documents basically are supposed to be taken together, but on the national military strategy side of the house, what we're looking at is really the realization that in this particular situation, we don't know what's going to happen next. The whole idea of prediction is realized to be a very difficult thing at best.
The problem really is leadership over there, and I wonder if this addresses what to do when a government, for instance, that in Baghdad, won't include all its people and its people won't get on board with what it's doing, because that's our problem.
That is our problem there. And, you know, one of the big problems with the idea that we can rely on locals is that in many historical instances, we've got a situation where the locals just weren't up to the capacity that they needed to be in order to actually defeat the threat that we were facing. I mean, look at World War II, for example. The locals didn't do a very good job against the Nazis or against the Japanese, and we had to step in. So we have that one possibility there. If the locals can take care of it, absolutely wonderful. But my bet is that in many cases, we're going to see that they're not going to be able to do it.
And in many cases, we've found that those with whom we might work have a different long-term goal than we do. For instance, in parts of the campaign in Syria. Does this address what to do about that?
Not really, and that's one of the big things, because we take this view that all of these people that we're working with are going to share the same long-term goals that we have, and that's just simply, as you pointed out, not true. What we're dealing with is a situation where we're going to have temporary alliances in order to achieve our ends, our goals, and we have to realize that others are doing the exact same thing. So today's friend may be tomorrow's adversary and even possibly enemy, and the strategy does not address that at all.
It occurs to me that what we've just said is, and what this says is, if you can't get it and hold it and give it to somebody who will take care of it and not use it against you, then you don't need to be getting it and holding it in the first place, which is what we've been doing for the last 10 years and hasn't worked.
Well, that's definitely one possible interpretation of that. So the idea is, you know, you get it, you hold it briefly, and you get out so that the others can take care of it. And, you know, in essence, what these strategies do is they fight the last war. So this idea that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be in a protracted campaign may be true, but we may also end up in a situation where we have a lightning quick war, and that is also something that we have to be prepared for, and this strategy does not address that issue, really.
Colonel CEDRIC LEIGHTON, good to hear from you. Thank you.
You bet, Shep.